self-care, which is something that we talk about a lot. And self-care is not being selfish or being self-centered. Self-care is simply finding a way to take care of yourself, to replenish the used energies, and to refresh yourself. And self-care will help you to reinforce the fact that you are a whole being. You're lovable, you are warm, you are deserving of respect and care. So let us look at some of the effects of having suffered or suffering the mother wound. What are the outcomes? How do people who have suffered the mother wound, uh, how do they face life? What are some of the challenges or some of the effects that come out in life as a result of suffering the mother wound? One, an inability to set boundaries. That is a very clear one. That is a very usually that is very obvious. They have an inability to set boundaries, and therefore they don't have personal boundaries. They're never able to say no, even when they should say no. They kind of become people pleasers, and that's in an effort of how they grew up. They may not have felt approved or accepted, and therefore they were working hard to ensure that the mother loved and approved them. So when they grow up, they don't have boundaries, and they're used even at work. Everyone can dump their work on them because they don't know how to say no. So setting boundaries. At the same time, they may not also be able to respect other people's boundaries because they don't recognize other people's boundaries. So in an inability to set boundaries is one of them. Uh, they have insecurity with their physical appearance, body image, physical appearance. This may have come as a result of maybe being made to feel they are not okay. Something is wrong with you, or being compared to other people, their siblings, and all that. They usually find themselves in codependency relationships, codependent relationships. And this means that they get into relationships, and sometimes the relationships are abusive, but they need to be, they find themselves in relationships where they feel they have to be needed. They have to provide, they have to uh, be needed by their partners. Sometimes they're actually enablers. An enabler is someone who may be with someone who is in an abusive relationship or even an addictive a lifestyle, but they kind of reinforce it, they kind of enable it. So those are codependent relationships. So someone who may have suffered the mother wound is likely to find themselves in such relationships. They also have a fear of being abandoned, which is a rather obvious outcome of that. They chronically judge themselves. They are self-judging. They are very critical of themselves, and they have a habit of comparing themselves with other people. And it doesn't matter how good they may look to other people. It doesn't matter how other people see them. They always have this thing of, someone is better than me. So they judge themselves harshly. They self-criticize, and they also have a tendency to compare themselves. uh, they have a fear of displeasing their mothers, believe it or not. Even as adults, they have a tendency to seek approval from their mother, uh, especially when they have to make decisions. And sometimes it's really decisions that they need to make for themselves. So they find themselves going back to the mother, if the mother is still around, to seek approval, because this is how they have been, that's what they've been practicing growing up. They have an inability to trust themselves. So they always doubt themselves. And they also have difficulties trusting other people. So the trust issues, they have that, they have trust issues. They have tendencies to feel unworthy. And I guess this has to do with if they were made to feel they are not worthy. Uh, their self esteem is usually very low, so they don't value themselves that much. um, and therefore and that is why many of them have a tendency to, or they usually find themselves in relationships that are not healthy, because they kind of feel they don't deserve better. So they have very low self-esteem. They don't value themselves, and they lack also emotional awareness. That means they may not be able to really, they're not in touch with their own emotions. They may also not be able to relate well with other people because they're not also aware with other people about other people's emotions. And this is one of the reasons they find themselves in unhealthy relationships a lot of times, because they're not emotionally aware. uh, they also are not able to self-soothe. They are harsh to themselves. So those are some of the effects. Sorry, those are some of the effects of having suffered the mother wound. The good news about the mother wound or any other, emotional hurt and trauma is that there's always a way to get out of it. There's a way to heal. And so let's look at some of the ways that a person who has suffered the mother wound may be able to heal. One, allow yourself to feel the pain. Don't deny the pain. Allow yourself to to acknowledge that you actually suffered the wound. The first thing or the first step in getting healing of any kind is to actually accept, yeah, I have suffered this, or this is what I'm suffering from, and I need help, and I need to heal. That's the first. So don't deny it. Don't deny the pain. Don't deny the fact that you are not cared for, that you're abandoned or rejected. Just accept, allow yourself to feel and to express that pain. So that's the first step. Then number two, learn to love yourself. You are never loved, and especially if there are other siblings who were probably loved or were shown more love than you. But love yourself. Love yourself. Just because you're not loved growing up, just because you're not shown the love that you deserved, doesn't mean that you also now loathe yourself. Love yourself and do the things that make you happy. Don't dismiss yourself. You're important. Love yourself. Find ways to love yourself and find ways to take care of yourself. Number three is validate yourself, because you must know that you're enough. Learning to accept yourself uh, now means that you're not negating the maybe the negative aspects of you. It's not like you're perfect, but learn to accept yourself the way you are and learn to love yourself. And when you do that, you're getting rid of the image of the unlovable child that still lingers in you. That image of a child who was not loved, who may not have been enough, who was not worthy. Once you learn to validate yourself and tell yourself, I am enough, just the way I am, you get rid of that image of that child who grew up feeling unloved and unworthy. Number four, create boundaries. Creating boundaries is important because, first of all, they help you to take care of yourself. They help you to know how far you can go and how far you can push yourself and how far you cannot allow, or you can allow someone to get to you. And having setting boundaries also allows you to know how to interact with your mother. If your mother is still around, setting boundaries allows you to know, I will not allow this to happen. I will not allow this kind of influence now to get to me. Boundaries protect you from further wounding, so to speak, so that as you're healing from the effects of the mother wound already suffered, you're preventing yourself from getting more wounded. And I'm saying this because if your mother never changed, and if you have not found a way to heal yourself, there is a tendency to continue that wounding. So boundaries are going to be a deterrent of that. They're going to, keep you from getting wounded more and allow yourself to heal. Develop a sense of self-awareness. Mothers have a gift, if I can call it a gift, of influencing their children and as giving them space in a healthy relationship. A mother has a way of reinforcing uh, the way their children grow, knowing themselves, self-awareness, just growing up healthy. Now, in the absence of this, you may feel like you're nobody. So develop ways to learn and to become aware of yourself and accept yourself. And don't run away from the feelings that come in this journey. So develop ways to, to become more aware, to, to be in touch with your emotions. Number 6, self-care, which is something that we talk about a lot. And self-care is not being selfish or being self-centered. Self-care is simply finding a way to take care of yourself, to replenish the used energies, and to, refresh yourself. And self-care will help you to reinforce the fact that you are a whole being. You're lovable, you are warm, you are deserving of respect and care. And even if that care is coming from you. So self-care is important in every way because it makes you whole. And therefore look at ways where you can take care of yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, socially, in every way, spiritually. Just find a way. And self-care can be very, very personal because what works for one person may not necessarily be what will work for another person. And so find a way. But physically, self-care may look like, are you eating well? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you resting enough? Are you able to relax, or are you always up and down running? Emotionally, um, are you stressed all the time? Find ways to distress. Find ways to get rid of what it is that is, causing so much pressure and stress. Socially, connect with people who will make you feel good, people who make you laugh, people who affirm you, people who encourage you, people who see the good in you. So all these are forms of, trying to, to exercise self-care. So, and also find ways that work for you, not necessarily what other people may recommend or what works for other people. And the last one, and we've written an article on self-care, and that can also give you clues and other tips on how you can do that. And the other one that is really, really powerful, number 7, is forgiveness. I know people don't sometimes want to forgive because they feel like forgiving is giving the other person, it's like allowing the other person to get away with it. But forgiveness is actually for your healing. And forgiveness is not about the other person. Forgiveness is not about your mother. Forgiveness is about you. And forgiveness does not depend on if your mother is apologizing or has apologized or has acknowledged that they did something that wounded you. Forgiveness is you making a choice and a decision to say, I forgive my mother for me going through this, whether she did it intentionally or not, whether it was a result of her own motherhood or not. So forgiveness is being able to accept the past and being able also to acknowledge that it actually happened, but it will not hold you captive. So choose to forgive from your heart and move on and get that weight off of your of your back. And once you do that, it's going to be easier. It's going to be easier for you to get the healing that you need, and it's going to be less. It's going to be less difficult. It's probably going to be a shorter process than if you are still carrying the weight of unforgiveness. Um, the point to ponder is the mother wound. The reason that you suffered the mother wound may be as a result of your mother having suffered the wound herself, and either was not aware of it or was not able to deal with it, was not able to heal. But remember, if you do not forgive her, it's going to be impossible for you to heal. But more importantly is that if you do not forgive or if you don't get the healing you require, you are likely also to wound your children. You're likely to pass on this wound to your own children. So that's what we are trying to avoid. The most important thing to remember is that if you don't, when we don't forgive, we become a slave of the past. We become kind of slaves. It actually enslaves us. So forgiveness is very, very key as much as we are looking at all the other areas of receiving the healing. from the mother wound. So it is important to, first of all, identify whether you may have suffered the mother wound. Maybe that's the reason you are the way you are. Maybe that's the reason you interact the way you do with other people. Maybe that's the way you find, maybe that's the reason you find yourself in relationships that don't seem to be healthy, don't seem to work. But once you have identified this, then seek the healing that you need. You may need to seek the help of a professional, mental health professional, a therapist, a psychologist, a counselor who will be able to help you walk this journey. But it is possible, it is doable, and you deserve it because you need to live a life that is full, that is healthy, that is joyous, that is peaceful. Thank you, and we will see you in our next video.